Malorie.
And I'm Greta.
This is Chalk It Out, where we spill the tea on what it's really like to be an educator.
All right, Malorie. So we've had 1 week under our belts.
Yes.
How was your first week back?
It was very different being at a new school, I will say, but It was really fun. Just getting to know everyone. That's always a new experience, you know?
Yeah. And you have a new position. So how was that?
Yeah, it's completely different. I feel like as an instructional coach, you're really busy at the beginning of the year, right before school, and those first week with professional learning and district meetings. And so this was just kind of a little easy breezy, to be honest.
Okay.
So I think we're still kind of in that honeymoon stage with students. You know, they're really excited to be at school, well behaved. So we haven't had too many issues so far. But here in about a week or two, I feel like that's when, you know, the behaviors will start coming out.
You'll be very busy very soon, I'm sure.
I'll be chasing students around, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I feel like I've been like kind of in spreadsheet world, trying to make sure I have my list of kids correct. And I helped a little bit with the professional development at the beginning of the year. But I don't know, I actually missed the first 2 days because I was at a wedding.
Yes. Yeah. So you missed that.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, we're glad you're back.
Yeah. So we have a couple new teachers at our school too, and one brand new specials teacher, and she's brand new to teaching.
Okay.
Yeah. So teaching specials at a K through 8, I feel like that would be a really hard transition because who knows like what her student teaching was like.
Yeah.
Like probably in like 1 or 2 grade levels, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And now you're with K through 8th grade, having to plan for all the different grade levels too.
Yeah. So I met with her to talk a little bit about GT stuff. And so do you have a mentor? Like, are you going to be okay? And luckily they had paired her up with somebody from another school.
Oh, okay. Another music teacher?
Another music teacher.
Perfect.
That also taught at in a K8.
Okay.
So I think that was good because normally I think it's better to have a mentor in your building, but not if you don't have somebody that teaches the same thing as you.
Yes. Yeah. We have a new teacher as well. She's 22, fresh out of college. And so you can even imagine how that is. But same thing, we're trying to find a good mentor for her. And I've thought about maybe looking for someone outside of the school too, just because she's one of those islanders. So she only teaches her grade level by herself.
Yeah.
And so that could be challenging too.
Yeah, that is challenging. So what do you think, like, I know it's so hard your first few years of teaching. Like, what is the best way to support teachers?
I know. Well, I think before we get into that, I wanted to share a statistic because it's fascinating. According to the United States Department of Ed, about 50% of new teachers are going to quit within the first 5 years. And
wow.
That is alarming.
50%? Yes. I knew it was a lot, but yeah.
And that was pre-COVID. So I would love to see what it's at currently, but I feel like it's even gotten worse because there's so many teacher openings. And so that kind of reminds me of teachers who have an initial license versus an alternative license.
Okay.
And so some teachers with an alternative license have never even student taught.
Whoa, I can't imagine.
Yes. So they're just getting thrown into a classroom with no education background. And so
that's right. I had a year of student teaching, which was so amazing because it was very gradual. Like the first quarter, it was like 2 days a week. And then it was 3 days a week for the next quarter. And then the last quarter or the last semester, I guess, it was like full time in the classroom.
I think I had 2 semesters and one was more, just a few days a week helping. And then finally that second semester, it was like full time teaching. So very different experiences. And then if you're a new teacher who did go to school and education, like I did, you would get your initial license first. And then after 5 years, correct? You get a professional license?
I think it's 3.
Is it 3?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. We'll have to look that up and maybe blog about that. So anywhere from 3 to 5 years, you get your professional license.
Yeah. And that, I don't know, that whole process is annoying too, because I don't know if people know, like non-educators, but you have to pay for your teaching license.
Yes. Yeah. And
like
take an
$80.
assessment. Yes. Usually you have to take a praxis, which is also like $100?
$130. Because I just took one to get my gifted endorsement. It was $130, and it's just really frustrating because we know there's a teacher shortage. Why are we having teachers and then we have to make them pay to renew their license?
Thank goodness. Did you see Colorado now? It's 7 years after your professional license, every 7 years instead of 5. They changed that at least.
Still, I shouldn't have to pay to do my job.
Yeah, especially when you've been teaching for 20 years. It seems ridiculous.
But
so I thought about what we can do to keep teachers, obviously, and new teachers. So one, thinking about pay, it looks so differently across the country and even in the state of Colorado.
Yes.
Small towns get paid probably half of what we do in the Denver metro area.
Yeah. I would love to move to the mountains, but I would take such a drastic pay cut that it just is not feasible.
Yeah. And the housing is still just pretty much the same price anymore. So in Colorado.
I don't know how teachers live and work in rural areas. I just don't know how you have the money to do it.
I don't know.
So kudos to you who are out there doing that, because thank you.
In Virginia and Ohio, probably making maybe half of what I did here in Colorado as well. But again, the price of living is a little cheaper there. But still, if we want to get more teachers, we got to figure out pay for sure.
100%.
And then the second thing I was thinking about on how to keep teachers, all teachers, not even just new teachers, is just supporting them through the new challenges and demands of students these days.
Yeah.
They just need a lot of extra support.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like there's a lot of social emotional aspects that really need to be taken into account that we don't really think about. We're not as prepared to address in teacher preparation programs. You are really content focused, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, but now I need to learn how to help this 8-year-old regulate because something horrible happened, or oh, this kid needs food. You need to recognize when a kid is hungry, or does this kid need to take a nap for the first 20 minutes of school.
Your body. Yeah, it's so sad. And then we have a lot of students more with ADHD.
True.
Kids who are on the spectrum, twice exceptional. So we're getting all these high need students. And all in one classroom.
Yeah. I mean, life is hard and there's a lot of trauma out there, and the kids are affected and they come in, and then we have to learn how to adapt to that and figure out how to help them. So
which can be a lot for a new teacher.
Yeah.
On top of everything else, planning and academics. And then you have that aspect. So the third thing I thought about is just how can we celebrate their accomplishments, though? I don't think teachers get the recognition they deserve when, on a day-to-day basis.
100%.
I feel like we need to have schools that are fun and celebrate.
Yeah, I think the school culture, I think I've said this before too, the school culture has such an impact on teacher happiness, and that has an impact on student happiness because it's such a trickle down effect.
And I don't think it's that hard either, because you can just get snacks. I don't know, the first week of school, donuts, burritos, just little things like that too.
Or just when you come in a classroom, if you're an evaluator or a support person and you see, leave a sticky note that says, hey, you did a great job. I noticed that you did this one thing really awesome, and just leave it for them. Positive. The things that we do for our kids, we should also be doing for our teachers.
And celebrating them in the newsletters. I love how our school did that. I think that's awesome. Every week. Yeah.
I agree. I know school districts also have mentoring programs, which I think can be effective and can be a lot.
I think their heart is in the right place. I think we're just trying to figure out how do those mentor programs actually support new teachers.
Right.
And so thinking about that, within our district, I know you would have a mentor for 3 years. So it should be someone who can work with that teacher for 3 years. And that way they can build a trusting relationship with them and support them throughout that. And that's also called their induction years as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I have some thoughts about induction because in the school district where we work, it's monthly sessions. And this is a requirement by CDE. So it's probably around the same for all school districts in Colorado. But it's you have monthly meetings for the first year. And then year 2, you have to take CLDE classes.
And there's 4 of those. So you pretty much are busy that whole year.
And they're after school. And it's just a lot. And adding on to the stress of a new teacher who's just planning, and you're spending your weekends planning because it's so much. And then you have evening classes on top of that. It feels like too much.
Yes.
Too fast. I really think we should ease in.
Yeah, maybe if they just did 1 or 2 a year. So it took 2 years to do those 4 classes.
I also think there should have been an opportunity to test out of it.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? Because I got a lot of that information from my teacher preparation program, but it didn't
Or why doesn't those just, it's a mandatory now. When you go to college, you get those 4 classes.
True.
So those are taken, you know, I don't know.
They need to streamline it because it's a lot for new teachers. So I think induction could use some work. But I do think mentoring can be really valuable.
Yes. I think everyone deserves a mentor when they are first starting off.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some stories and things about that. And then also you have to have all that paperwork too. So if you're a mentor, you have to have your log to show that you met with your teacher however often.
I hated that when I was mentoring.
Because it takes up more time.
Yeah. And I was like, I mean, I'm talking to my teammate who I was mentoring all the time. Daily we were chatting and giving advice. And then I was just like, oh, well, yeah, I got to go backlog and fill out the paperwork. So that was frustrating.
All right. So let's get into our experience with mentoring. So I started off in Virginia. Just after 3 years, I was asked to be a mentor and a lead teacher. So I was younger. I was like, okay, I can try this out. In Virginia, they paid teachers. It was like an extra $2,000 a year. Sorry, I almost said a month. That would have been really exciting. Just in a year. So you would have to go to like some district meetings. You would help with planning. And then you would get like a mentee. So supported them that way. But I was also kind of young myself. So I'm not sure how helpful I was. It was more day-to-day questions about things. But at that time, that's what the teachers needed. So I felt comfortable with that. And then moving into back to Colorado as a mentor, I think I gained some insight from being in Virginia. And I was like, okay, what can I actually do to help first-year teachers, you know? And so I found one idea that helped a mentee was a double entry journal.
Okay.
And so within that, we would just communicate online about things. So I would use like an emoji. How are you feeling today? What questions do you have? And then I would answer them. And so we kept track that way, and it made it so much easier just to see what were they thinking, what were their questions, and then I could go into the classroom, observe, give some feedback based on that, or find it on my own time. And especially with like the new generation of teachers, they all want to be on emails and things. They don't want to always go face to face anymore.
Yeah. Well, I like that because 1, you can write the question in the moment so you don't forget it later.
Exactly.
And 2, it takes a little bit of the pressure off if you have a question that you're like, I think I should know this, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit less intimidating to ask it online versus in person. So that's kind of nice. I like that idea.
Yeah. And then it keeps track of all the dates too, because I would have it by date. So you can kind of count that.
And then there's a mentoring log right there.
So it makes it a lot easier.
God, you're so efficient.
So I had to share that one because I feel like that really did help.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And then I feel like a lot of the times when I was the mentor, teachers just needed help communicating with parents, especially when it was, a difficult conversation to have. So I would just say, hey, do you want me to go in when you're making this phone call and help you through it? Or, same thing. Do you want me to help you write up your email? Because I feel like that's what new teachers really need. And they're nervous with parents at first, especially when parents come in really strong.
Yeah.
So,
and now you can use AI to do that.
That's true. Write it for you.
Yeah. Make this sound more professional.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's
a little more empathetic.
Yeah. Which is a really cool feature, but also be careful because sometimes it's really obvious when it's AI writing stuff.
Yeah. You want to reread it and add your own flair.
Yeah. Because you don't want it to sound like impersonal.
Exactly.
You want professional, but relatable. But empathetic.
That's
all
true.
the things.
Go AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this leads me to a story of the day based on what we talked about with parents. So my second year of teaching, right? I'm in my classroom. The students are at specials, and I have a parent. She comes in and is so mad, and she's like, why did you call my son's father? And like went off.
Oh my God.
And it was so scary. And then she slammed the door in my face. It was so scary. Well, it turned out that the nurse called the child's father because he was sick and he was on the emergency information. So obviously first call goes to number 1, the next call goes to the next person, which was the father. So something must have happened. I don't know, divorce situation or whatever. But she was just so heated, and it would have been so nice to have somebody to go to at that time because I didn't have anybody. I didn't have like a mentor.
Yeah.
And so just to handle that, I was just like almost in shock because I was like, I came from Colorado. I'm there, and this lady's yelling at me. And so just going back to it would have been nice to have somebody that was like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
But no one really checked in. So I was like, oh my gosh. But now I would have handled it differently. I would have been like, you know what? I can hear that you're upset. I hear you. Let's sit down when we're both calm and talk this through so I can hear your side.
Right.
You know, and then I would have been like, let's go to the nurse and figure out what happened.
Right.
It did turn out that the father was on that contact. And so if it's on the contact, they're going to get called, unfortunately. So scary though, but that's why I think it's also important to have somebody in your school that you can go to, because things come up all throughout the year and you're almost in tears and it's like, what do I do? So you need a mentor to get you through those situations.
Yeah. You know, I didn't have a formal mentor either starting out, but my teammates were just so great that they like served as my mentor. So that was really nice.
Yeah. If you have strong teammates, they're usually your go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel bad for those though who are islanders, like I said, because then they're all on their own. So that's if someone teaches only 6th grade science, you know, they don't have somebody else to go to.
Yeah. Just another reason why you should like get to know your coworkers and make them feel welcome, because sometimes they will need you or you will need them.
Yeah. It should be like a family.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions that you think would be helpful to ask new teachers? I thought of a few. I'm just like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me? How are you feeling? I think is a really important one.
Yeah.
Throughout the year.
Yeah. I think anything that will get them to reflect on their practice a little bit, but in like a non-aggressive or judgy way. So you could say things like, how do students respond when you do whatever, or what do you like, when do you feel the most joy in your day, and when do you feel like your day is the hardest? Because likely those are the times where you can elevate something that they're doing really well and something that a spot where they might need
you.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And then I thought about like, what kids have you connected with the most, and which kids are you having a hard time connecting with? And so just really getting them to think that like they should be having connections with all of their kids, and then maybe like, why are you connecting with these kids the most and not these? And like, how can we sort of bridge that gap?
Well, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of sums up what mentoring, right?
Yeah.
Should we move on to coaching then?
Yeah, because coaching and mentoring, I feel like the lines can get blurred really easily.
Yes.
So what's the difference?
Yeah. So mentors are all just trying to keep teachers, right? Kind of just being more of a partner, supportive aspect. Coaching, on the other hand, though, is when you're trying to build teacher capacity with academics and content and your teaching practices and strategies.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a different lens. They're still not evaluators, though.
Right.
That's really important because you're also a coach, right? So you want what's best for them. You're just trying to help them kind of move their practice. And so you want to improve student and teacher performance. When you look at data, we're hoping to see some growth through those coaching cycles. And so a coaching cycle usually consists of meeting with a teacher beforehand for like a pre-observation, where you can ask questions like, tell me about your students. What's one area you want to grow in? You know, one focus area.
Right.
And then you kind of plan a date where you can go in and co-teach, or you can just observe. You can model a lesson. It depends on what the teacher wants and needs. And then you go in and observe that lesson or co-teach it, model it. And then you're going to provide some feedback based on data. So usually when I'm in there, I gather data on that focus area and let's just see where we're at, see where we're starting at.
Okay.
And kind of gather that. That way you can make a new goal of what you want. So I noticed, during your small group time, 50% of the students were on task. What would be a good, achievable goal you would want to get to in the next month or two?
Yeah.
So
I like how the coach kind of takes on that role of data collection in that moment, so that it just sort of takes the pressure off and you can see those improvements over time.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it helps teachers realize, I am improving in my practice, because sometimes you don't see it on a day basis. But like when you have that data, it's like, okay, I'm improving. And it feels better.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so I usually have like some kind of SMART goal within it. That's usually mandated by the district, of course. So just the time, and then what you're comparing your data to. And then I would say just thinking about those high leverage, teaching practices. So check for understanding, discourse, all those things that have to do with your teaching.
Yeah.
Student agency. There's so many. And kind of figuring out, what does the teacher really want to improve on? And usually that'll match their evaluation to something that they're working on.
Okay.
That way I kind of make that connection that it's helping their evaluation plus the students in the classroom.
Yeah. So have you had personally, like I know you were an instructional coach, but have you had really good coaches?
Not really, actually. I had I'm trying to think through. So Virginia, we didn't really get coaches. They were kind of like, here you go. They would come in maybe like once a month and give feedback, but nothing that was like collecting data or anything like that. And then at a private school, I definitely didn't get any coaching. And then when I moved back to Colorado, I did, I had like a really awesome coach, but she was working with so many other teachers that I didn't really get coached. Because by that time I had, the 10 years or whatever of teaching. Right. So it's like they needed to go to all these other teachers.
Yeah. I feel like similarly, so I feel like I've talked about this before. I had a very short coaching cycle with the dean who coached me on like behavior management. And that was really helpful. And then our teaching partner at the time didn't really, I had to ask for support. I was like, we were implementing a new curriculum and I was like, I just don't feel like it's engaging or like I'm doing it correctly. Like, can you just like come in and watch and give me feedback? And we like kind of plan the lesson together. And then she watched me teach it. And then I don't even know if we debriefed after that. I think she just sort of abandoned me. Like she might have been like, good job. And I was like,
yeah, that's never
okay. But
yeah,
it ended up like the lesson was pretty good, but it was also, there's gotta be something.
There has to be something. Yeah. One feedback. I usually try to give 3 strengths and a wonder.
Yeah. And then we had another instructional coach who never really tried to coach me, but he did come in the last day of the quarter, like twice. It's like the end of quarter 1 and the end of quarter 2. And I was like, dude, we are wrapping things up. We're wrapping up projects. I'm trying to do grades. Like we're wrapping things up.
The best. Yeah.
And I just remember his suggestions were always like, oh, that lesson would have been really great. Like, have you thought about using a graphic organizer? I was like, yeah, I have thought about that, but I sort of planned this a little on the fly because like I said, we were just wrapping things up. So sure, a graphic organizer might have helped a little bit, but I also had them draw it on their paper. And so it's like, dude, it's fine.
Not great.
But thinking about like when you're coming in to observe teachers too.
That's why I don't really like to just observe anymore. Now I'm like, I want to co-teach, Yeah. Or but you have to know the teacher too. And like, are they comfortable with you just kind of, jumping in? Yeah. Not kind of taking over a little bit. But most teachers really are. They really are like, yes, another body in here. Yes. And I think they feel more comfortable when you're standing up by them versus like sitting on your computer typing notes. So
yeah, and it's like a little bit like the ownership is on both of you.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm always like, you know what, this might go really well or it might not, but we'll learn from it. So that's how I look at it. And then the other thing I was thinking too at my other school, we had like a really strong teacher partner when I was in the classroom, and they kind of coached through PLCs too. So that's like a really great time where you can meet with all teachers and see how the lessons are going with planning.
Yeah.
And then we used to have to actually practice our lesson. We had to stand up and pretend we were teaching.
Oh, wow.
So that in the moment is really good practice and getting feedback from everyone in the PLC room.
I think I would hate that though.
I loved it.
Of course you did. I think a lot of teachers would hate that.
Yeah, they were very uncomfortable. So once I became the teacher partner, that was just like, this is just how it's going to be. And I think after we ripped that Band-Aid off, teachers were like, okay, I'm gonna have to do it.
I mean, same with videoing lessons and then bringing those to PLC. Like that was really big in one of the schools I was at, and we just did that. And everyone hated it, but then like there is value in it. You just, like you said, you have to rip the Band-Aid off and just like get past the discomfort.
Yeah. Well, I felt it was comfortable at the end. And I think all the teachers at the end were like, wow, that was really helpful.
Yeah.
It's just
because
the
you need to see
hard.
your colleagues teach,
exactly,
and then you learn from them.
Then you make sure everyone's kind of on the same page with the lesson too.
True.
And then you could be like, ooh, maybe we should just change this wording a little bit here. So I thought that was really powerful, honestly. And I know at the beginning when I was in the classroom and had to do it, they were always like, Mallory, do you want to go first? Because I'm like, sure, I'll take one for the team.
Yeah, I always volunteer to go first.
Yeah.
Like, just want to get it over with.
Oh, you want to get it over with?
I want to get it over with, and I feel like they forget about what the first person did by the time the last person goes around, so it's fine.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we switched. So we had 3 teachers on every team, so every week it would be a different teacher. They would rotate. But yeah, they had to go when they had to go, so.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. But I still see some of those teachers from my old school, and they're like, honestly, that was like the best PLC I ever had.
Wow.
So I was like, well, I'm glad it was meaningful.
Yeah, good for you, because you don't hear that very often.
No, you don't. And I would say most teachers don't feel like coaches actually help them.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would love to find a statistic on that, but
There's a lot of like, especially, and then if you have like a bad experience with a coach, then you're less likely to accept coaching again. And so that becomes really hard when really coaches can be a really valuable resource in improving your teaching practice. But I think teachers just feel like, oh, one more meeting and then another meeting because I have to follow up on it. And it just like that, like when your time is cut short like that, it just feels like another thing.
Exactly. That's why I always try to make them into PLC. So that usually counts as like your pre-observation already. Then you just have to go in and co-teach. And then you can even give some feedback right after PLC, just a quick like 10-minute conversation, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I do just send an email with those 3 awesome things that went really well. And then my one wondering. So yeah, there's ways to go around it, but I agree. Teachers just don't want to meet with you 3 times in a week. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them. They have a lot to do.
A lot to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully, I hope that everyone here has gotten some good experiences with mentoring or coaching. Do you have any like last thoughts on either of those, Mel?
No, I just think it's important to reach out to those who can support you because you can't do it all on your own. So hopefully if you don't have a mentor, find a teammate that you can go to because there's tough days where you're almost in tears and you're like, I just need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And everybody needs that. And then just to have fun. I mean, have fun.
Yeah. And then if you don't have anyone, email us, hit us up because we can try to help you too.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. Please follow us on Instagram at chalkitout_podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Chalk It Out.
TikTok, Chalk It Out. Yeah.
And visit our website at chalkitoutpodcast.com.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you.